Be very Venetian.
But a nightmare for the cameraman.
Yes, it would be awful.
Yeah.
So I'm glad there's these big heavy curtains.
Do you not have people
so much.
people to do that with, like, you know, men?
Yeah, but
men
they
in-
had to, they're on a break. They're on a 5-minute break.
and they're like leaves.
Getting a bite to eat, and then they're gonna be back in with the leaves.
Yeah.
And the grapes.
Yeah. Are we going? Yeah. Oh, we're going. All right, let's stop talking about men and grapes.
Oh, God.
So, first of all, last night must have been fantastic. How was it, and how was it to have the film so amazingly received?
It was, I cried. I definitely cried. And then Damien reached over, because I was like, and his palm was just sweating so much. And we were like, oh God, we're messes. It was just, when you worked on something for so long and it put so much love in, I mean, especially Damien, obviously for years, it put so much love and heart into it and bonded so much with these people. It's just an incredible experience. It was the first time ever that the world had seen it, so it was really a really special night.
Yeah, great way to open the festival. And also, I mean, there's always mention of Oscar buzz. Is that like, does that kind of scare you a bit? Like, come on, pressure. Just...
No. I mean, I don't personally feel pressure, but I think that I think what Damien did in the movie that he made, the way that he made it, I'm like, go Damien, go. I think it's just, he's absolutely brilliant.
Now, Dancing with Ryan Gosling, was it as flawless as it looks on screen, or was there some stepping on toe business going on?
Definitely, yes. I think we hurt each other many times, I'm sure, physically, accidentally. But it was really, really fun to learn to dance with him, because I've known him for so long. So to learn to dance with your friend is pretty funny.
Were either of you naturals? Were either of you good before?
He's a good dancer. Yeah, he is a good dancer. I think he danced for a long time, and I took dance lessons for a long time, but I wouldn't say I'm a good dancer. But learning was a blast, and I think especially for both of us, the tap dancing was so much fun because it's just so rhythmic and was such a new skill that that was a blast.
And then, obviously, you must have thought a lot about you when you started out in acting, because there's a lot of that comes into the role. Can you kind of remember the feeling the first time you ever walked out onto a movie set, and what was that experience like?
Oh my God, it was super bad, and it was so surreal. I was beside myself. I loved it so much, and also that movie is so funny, and everybody got to improvise on it, and those guys and those people. I met my best friend on that movie, Martha, who plays Becca in the movie. I mean, that was such an incredible feeling, doing that. So, yeah, it's pretty magical.
And then also, like, there is like this element in there also of the compromises and the sacrifices that actors and musicians have to make. Was that something when you went into the sort of business that you thought about, and is it something you found particularly difficult, like the spending time away from home and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, I was 15 when I came out to LA to audition, so I don't think I was even, cooking with all 4 burners there. I didn't know what sacrifice really meant, other than I was going to be homeschooled, and I was so excited because I was going to get to take the classes that I liked. I mean, my parents were so supportive, and I was so incredibly lucky in that sense that I was able to come out at that age, that I didn't understand until later as time has gone on. And there have been years where, and it's one of those things where you're like, I'm so lucky to be doing this that it's not like you can really complain, but I missed going to my best friend's wedding because of it. So it's like, there are those things, but I think we all have that. I mean, in any job, there are sacrifices. In any relationship, there are sacrifices. We're all, as human beings, dealing with that, balancing all the things that we want to do and we dream of doing with our responsibilities and our relationships. And yeah, so.
And do you think that's why a lot of actors end up with other actors or with musicians and stuff? Do you think it is because you kind of all understand that side of things? Do you think it's difficult for people who aren't in there to sort of understand that?
I don't know. It's just also probably you just meet people in that way, like you meet people at work or like you meet people out. It's I don't really know, but yeah, it's definitely, it's nice to have friends that understand what that experience is, that aren't upset if you don't text them back for like 2 weeks because you're in some weird bubble in a country that's on a 12-hour time difference. That's been an experience I've had. I have very, very loving and kind friends for dealing with that.
And now, is there a track, if you were going to do a soundtrack of your life, is there a track you definitely want on there? Is there like a song that is your song?
I'd love Where Did the Children Play by Cat Stevens to be on there. I don't know if that's my song, because that's a pretty depressing song, but I really love that song.
And then just finally, what was your first ever memory of going to a musical?
Les Mis, when I was 8 years old, went to see Les Mis on Broadway in a booster seat. Had to be in a booster seat. And my mom said that someone came up to her after the play that was sitting next to us and said, "How old is she?" My mom was like 8. And she was like, "She did not look away the whole time." Because I was really for 3 hours like, people can do this as a job. This is insane. I loved it. I loved it. Yeah, so I was a definite theater kid.
Cool, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I could do with one of those booster seats sometimes now. You sit in the cinema and you've got like someone, or I've always got someone 7 foot high.
Are you here for the whole festival? Or
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, I'm not this time. I'm leaving on Thursday, so a couple of days short, but still. Okay. So, first of all, last night must have been an amazing experience. How can you describe it?
It was kind of indescribable. It was really, I mean, it was nerve-wracking. The grandeur of the theater, the people. I was walking into the theater. I was like a scared mess. But to be able to see the movie, you know, in that context, and to have the reception we did, I'm so grateful. It was amazing.
We were, you know, do you think? I guess. Did you feel more pressure after Whiplash to pick wisely on your next project, or was it the opposite? Did you feel free to kind of do exactly what you wanted?
I was lucky that I didn't have to second guess myself or question myself, because I had been trying to make La La Land before Whiplash. So as soon as Whiplash was done, it was like, okay, oh, someone's interested in making my next movie? Well, here it is. So I think that helped. Otherwise, I think I might have had that moment of, well, I don't know what to do next. You know, because it's tough not to have that moment. But right away, I knew to sort of hit the ground running with this as soon as I could.
And then obviously journalists can be a cynical bunch, but you know the press screening, everyone was clapping after the opening number, so you know, that's got to be a good. That's got to be a good thing.
That makes me happy.
So how have you felt about the response that you've got here, and you know, and the talk of Oscar buzz again and things like that? How does that make you feel?
It's so wonderful, but it's also just because this was such a collaborative like endeavor. You know, at the end of the day, I got to work with Justin Hurwitz, the composer who wrote all the music in the movie. I've known him since we were 18, and we were college roommates together. We've always wanted to do this movie together. So to take this journey with him, to take the journey with my editor, Tom Cross, who edited Whiplash, with Emma and Ryan, and it's just all of us felt like a family during this, and it felt like a small movie in a way, even though the scale is big. It felt like a really intimate thing. So I'm just so happy for them. I'm happy for all of us. I'm happy that we can share this.
You know, there's a real balance of the kind of the romance, the nostalgia, the sort of sugarcoating, and then there's also the realism in there as well.
Right.
How hard was it to get that balance, and how important was that balance?
The balance was the key thing in the whole movie. It was it was a balance between old and new, and a balance between dreams and reality. You know, which basically boils down to how can you take a big old-fashioned musical and make it a contemporary, grounded, realistic story of today. It's two things that should be opposites, right? And so I wanted to try to see if they could exist together.
And also there is this kind of idea of the sort of compromise and the sacrifice that musicians and actors make as well that comes into the storyline. Is that something you've kind of seen firsthand? And do you think a lot of these people think they know going into it that is going to be the case? Do you think actors think about the time they're going to spend away from home, away from their family, away from their... Yeah,
there's a tremendous cost to it, and I think that there's something beautiful about that struggle. The fact, to me, it's like it's not about success. It's about the struggle to get there, and even if maybe you'd never even wind up getting there or where you thought you would be, but there's a beauty and a poetry to the struggle and to having the dream and to the journey, and I really wanted the movie to be about that. So it was important to not sugarcoat the down moments, so to speak.
And then what's your very first memory of walking out onto a film set? Can you remember it very clearly, and what was going through your mind?
I mean, a real film set, I don't know. I was making little home movies as a kid, and then in college, student films. It never felt like real film sets. I think, I remember when I made the short film that we made in order to get Whiplash made, was my first time with like an AD and like an actual crew, and I was kind of like, oh my God, I'm so in over my head. I should just, so I was terrified, and since then, I've grown into it a little more, but set is a very, very exciting place. It's at the end of the day, I think if you're doing it right, it's not that different from the feeling you have as a kid making home movies. It's it's make-believe, and there's something beautiful about that.
And then if there was going to be, if you were going to create a soundtrack to your life, is there like a track that you'd have to have on there? Have you got like a song that's your song?
No, I think, but I do. I mean, I do have like a running loop in my car of whatever old movie scores, jazz, anything by Clifford Brown or Thelonious Monk, anything by Michel Legrand or Nino Rota, old songs from Singing in the Rain. So it's the whole. I mean, it's right now for obvious reasons. For the past few years, I've been very much living in the musical world of this movie. So that's the language I'm still speaking, I guess.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That was cool.